Victim statements released by the Department of Justice prove that Epstein was working with someone in Hollywood, and new evidence now suggests that this person was Ellen. Ellen is mentioned more than 100 times in the Epstein files, and a new voicemail left by one of Epstein's victims was just discovered. Hi, this is a victim for you about death. Her name is She's in within about a year, less than a year. So you can call her on set, an appointment to meet up with her. If she doesn't want you at the house, but she said, like, you can call. Good. Ambulance, that's some sort of sign, but yes. So basically the activity that we were looking for, that anxious or that quick moving that was going on the other side of the vehicle. Oh my gosh, he's completely alive. What the hell? This isn't even the worst crime that Ellen is accused of. Emails taken from the Epstein files, along with statements made by Ellen herself, suggest that she was involved in some horrifying activities. There's even a conspiracy going on right now that Ellen was allegedly involved in the consumption of human flesh, and that's what Heche was working to expose. Now that the Epstein files reveal Ellen DeGeneres as, and I'm quoting this directly from the posts, Hollywood's most prolific, that she consumed human flesh. Ellen DeGeneres is named in the Epstein documents, and that part is real. Her name appears in the broader index of over 300 high-profile individuals that show up across the investigative materials. Flight logs, communications, third-party interviews, peripheral records. And so if I do, I don't want it to go to waste. Who will eat pizza if I, Jennifer? Yes. Harrison? Yes. Yes. All right, too large. What do you think? I'm going to order some pizza. There has long been speculation that Hollywood was involved in the consumption of human flesh, and the emails sent by Epstein and his co-conspirators prove this. An analysis of hundreds of thousands of emails released by the Department of Justice shows that Epstein was using code words to talk to his elite friends. These code words include food items such as beef jerky, pizza, ice cream, grape, sushi, and white tuna. The context in which these words are being used doesn't make any sense. The number one point is they're not talking about real jerky here. We know that it's code for something. And when you go through some of the other emails that talk about how to refrigerate it, where to store it, how many pounds it is, and things like that, your brain goes to some of that Peter Nygaard type world. Absolutely. Now, I've seen these, and I have access to the index emails as well. And I try to go through them when time allows. But yeah, I would guess if I were a betting man that they're not talking about actual beef jerky, not known to be an island treat. I mean, people eat a lot of fish down in the islands, and I'm sure other stuff too. But, I mean, to me, this is code for something. Mortaire is. There are code words that suggest Jeffrey Epstein and his associates you could maybe even be engaging in some sort of consumption. Is that human consumption? Are there code words? There's a lot of talk of beef jerky. There's a restaurant called The Camp, where the owner is listed in some of these documents. Now, that isn't a restaurant that is just proclaiming to serve human meat by any means. But some of this it seems that there's a lot of conspiracies that make you wonder. And I saw more emails about Tor and these coded conversations. Still have a very clear topic that torture was big. It was a big driver for them. And these were sick people doing very, very sick things. These elites weren't just eating human flesh. They were allegedly harvesting stem cells from human B2. Reports by trusted sources like Chris Hansen, who has been working to expose predators for over a decade, line up with what we've seen in the Epstein files. Epstein even had a research facility on his island where he would invest in stem cells taken from his own children. Allegedly, women would be impregnated, and stem cells would be taken from the fetuses. The recently released emails from the Epstein files show Jeffrey Epstein was interested in genetic medicine. He paid a researcher at Massachusetts General Hospital for tests that could be used to help create stem cells. Investigators found a $2,000 invoice from 2014 for sequencing part of Epstein's genome. The doctor that he paid also provided an estimate for personalized longevity studies that would use gene editing. He told investigators Epstein was enrolled in the Personal Genome Project at Harvard University. He was a billionaire freakazoid, and part of his deal, He's in prison, up in jail, up in Canada, waiting, charges all over the globe. But his deal was that he would allegedly impregnate young women in the Bahamas, where he had a huge home, and then have them get abort and harvest their stem cells of the fetuses to inject in himself as the fountain of youth. And we get into this in that documentary. And was Epstein involved in that sort of activity? I don't know. That's where, and again, we just have to look at what we have and know what we don't yet. Yeah, but it's a question. Yeah, when you look at the Kant and when you look at what other billionaire guys have done, Alex Jones explained exactly how all of it allegedly went down. A child's half you. You're not going to get organ rejection. That's what Epstein was actually one of his main businesses, along with Peter Nygard. Oh yeah, it's much worse than just, 14-year-old, 15-year-old girls, that they want you to just stay in that area and never get down the rabbit hole. That's the entrance to the rabbit hole is 14, 15-year-old girls. No. Down in the rabbit hole. Down in the rabbit hole is women getting pregnant with the man's own so it doesn't get generally rejected. Central African women, because they have dominant genes, and the stem cells are about 100 times better, just a fact for health effects. And then woman has anion at 8 months, they suck the dry of its bone marrow, its blood, and in multiple transfusions, put it into the rich old men and rich old women. And that's what Peter Nygard, that's public, by the way, and not public Epstein did, though. It's leaked he was into cloning and hundreds of babies of his, and underground medical facilities as Zorro Ranch and all these medical chairs, oh yeah, that's what they do. Going back to Hollywood, who was the one person using her platform to normalize using stem cells from humans to stay young? You guessed it was Ellen. Ellen wasn't even trying to hide her alleged involvement in the disgusting things Hollywood is now being exposed for. In one episode with Sandra Bullock, Ellen and Sandra Bullock openly discussed her use of adrenochromes extracted from and laughed about how it kept them young. Okay, let's talk about this facial that you're obsessed with. That how many did you get the whole cast of Ocean's 8 to do this? Not everybody. Okay? Good. Smart. Just those that I thought would appreciate it. Okay, explain what it is. Well, it's this way in which one forces through micro-needling. It's like a little roller with these. Some of you, I think many of you know it, and it pushes through the skin and ruptures the collagen and then boosts it. You look like a burn victim for a day, but then it pushes the skin. What are you pushing into the skin? Sarah, Sandra, Sarah, S. Carey, what are you pushing into the skin? Well, you push in whatever the facialist would like to insert into your pores. But what is it? It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract it's for skin from a Korean. Ellen has long been suspected of being involved with Epstein. Back when the Department of Justice first released images of Epstein's island, people were quick to notice how a temple on the island matched exactly with what Ellen had on her show. For some weird reason, it's like Hollywood likes to flaunt its secrets in your face. Did you know that Ellen DeGeneres' stage set is exactly the same as on Epstein Island, with all the couches, the same color, the same soft furnishings, palm trees, window, everything to the T? And I'm like, really? Wow. And we're getting some up now on our screen. Yeah, there's palm trees, you're right. But look at the backdrop behind her. Stripe building. There's no palm trees here. Don't berate her. I'm not berating. I'm just saying I'm gonna look further. There's also been a lot of talk about the crown and skeleton symbols from Jean-Michel Bazio's art, which both Jay-Z and Ellen have been seen wearing lately. Some investigators think these symbols are a nod to the elite's occult connections. There are even claims that these specific images match disturbing files found on Epstein's laptop that allegedly link high-profile politicians to ritualistic andicking. Symbolism will be their downfall. Or is it just art? And let me be the first to tell you, it's all connected. I mean, if you know, you know. But first, let's go back to that video of Ellen DeGeneres. When the camera turns, you can see the inside of her house. Now, see that picture right there? Well, if you pause it and look it up, it says evil thoughts with revenge right next to it. Here's another picture of Ellen in her house, and this is the picture behind her. Now, the thing I'm curious about is the letters on top of the picture. These look oddly similar to the letters Marina Abramovich writes out when she does spirit cooking. Remember the beginning of the video? It's all connected. And that person that was in all red is Lady Gaga, and she went to Marina Abramovich many times for teachings. But let's continue. This is another picture of Ellen in her home. She's cutting her mother's hair. But what is that picture above her head? We know for a fact that Epstein was working with celebrities within Hollywood. Court documents taken from Ghislaine Maxwell's court case days before Ellen announced she was shutting down Ellen's show that Epstein allegedly made deals with 25 different celebrities to bring them over to his side. These celebrities were tasked with cleaning up Epstein's image and connecting him to young talent within the industry. Some critics of Ellen claimed she was one of these celebrities, and the fact that she shut down her show and vanished from the spotlight just as Maxwell's deposition began, that's a pretty big red flag for them. So, according to a newly filed court document, Ghislaine Maxwell, the former associate of Jeffrey Epstein, she was convicted of sentenced to 20 years in prison. Is she telling the truth, particularly given her past, in light of what she's trying to do now? If this is true, number one, wow. And who are these people? What is a secret settlement? Can we ever find out? Can the public ever find out? So, I'm made of questions. I'm bringing on an expert right now to tackle all of this. Then there's the fact that the two people who could have exposed Ellen both ended up dying around the same time this deal was exposed. The Ellen Show ended in May of 2022. By the end of the same year, Stephen Twitch Boss, Ellen co-producer and alleged best friend of 8 years, and Heche, her ex-girlfriend, had both died under extremely mysterious circumstances. In May 2002, the Ellen DeGeneres show was canceled. And then 2 months later, Heche, Ellen's ex-girlfriend, was in a really bad car accident where she flew her Mini Cooper into someone's house and it caught fire. And what has never sat right with me is the cross-comparison between the coroner's report and the actual aerial footage. The coroner's report says that she was unconscious until her death just from smoke inhalation and from being brain dead from the fumes in her brain. But if you look at the footage, she sits straight up, and that takes a conscious effort, I feel. But I'm not a scientist. I mean, I'm not a doctor. But the other thing is her other host, her co-host Twitch, died 4 months after that. And I just think that that's a suspicious amount of, close people around you dying in weird ways. But I don't know. There are also reports the couple have put their Montecito mansion on the market, entertainment publication. The Wrap has the exclusive story and said Ellen DeGeneres and wife Portia D. Rossi have moved to rural England, put their Montecito estate on the market, and plan to never return to the United States, telling friends the election of Donald Trump was their primary motivation. Ellen DeGeneres has been a vocal Trump critic, so the move doesn't come as a surprise to most. They're losing their mind. She sounded so sincere, didn't she? Very sincere. Virtually choke on her words. But the best one for me is Ellen DeGeneres, who is, by the way, a very nasty person. I've had dealings with her in Australia. Could I tell you some stories about that cow? But anyway, good riddance to her. But she was quite friendly with that P. Diddy bloke, wasn't she? Well, this is why I say release the Diddy files. Come on, Donald Trump. We want to know whose name. So maybe she's hightailing out of there before all that is thrown at her as well. But what a bunch of hypocrites. Once you look at what some of Epstein's victims had to say about it becomes clear why most of Epstein's co-conspirators chose to run away. Journals and diaries belonging to the victims that Epstein was keeping on his island were also discovered. And in these diaries, the victims describe being abused by some of the most powerful men in the world. Bill Gates, high-ranking U.S. politicians, Howard Lutnick, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, and even a prince from the British royal family was there. Victims had no choice but to stay silent, with Ghislaine Maxwell being right there. So, as much as we talk about Epstein and all that, sometimes we don't talk enough about what these accusers, what these alleged victims went through. So, let me read you from these again what appear to be diary entries. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Don't speak. She doesn't talk. I can't stop shaking. And it's been a week. A decision was made, but I can't tell Jeffrey. These things happen. Why didn't I close my eyes fast enough? The doctor was different again. I think from Israel. He had kind eyes, but didn't speak directly to me. This was different. And those rod-like things had a hook and so much pain. Ghislaine said to push all the pain away. I don't understand. Blood and water all over the bed. And she was right. Like a feeling when your tummy hurts and you have to push. She said to close my eyes and put her hands over my eyes, but I didn't close them because of these tiny cries. I am so lost. I saw between her fingers this tiny head and body in the doctor's hands. It reached its tiny arm up and had a tiny foot. I closed my eyes and no more cries. And when you go to page 20 of this particular packet, chillingly, there is even a picture of a sonogram on a page with the words, "She is gone and she won't be coming back." And next to what appears to be a poem entitled, "Child," you have passages such as, "Your clear eye is the one absolutely beautiful thing. I want to fill it with color and ducks." Now, we don't know for sure who this person is. We don't know if this claim is real. We don't know if this sonogram is the baby the person mentions. And also, we can't confirm whether any charges or investigations were launched because of the specific account or accounts. But it seems the allegation is clear, right? That she was impregnated. And as I'll get into, either by Jeffrey Epstein or maybe she was a surrogate of some kind, but the baby was taken away. And what is interesting when we talk about her credibility, at least to me, is the apparent specificity of detail and acknowledging certain personal details about Epstein. A diary belonging to one of Epstein's victims was also recovered. Epstein and Ghislaine met a 14-year-old victim and her family at a camp funded by celebrities. Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell preyed upon this girl by providing her with scholarships, mentoring her, buying her stuff, and even helping her start her modeling career. Epstein and Ghislaine were masters at coercion, and they knew just the right kind of girls to find who would be susceptible to the lies. The worst part, this diary proves that parents knew what their kids were getting into. First met J.E. and GM, sitting at a picnic table with friends. GM walked by with the dog. Jay came up to meet her. "Do you like teachers, classes, etc.? I give scholarships." 6 weeks later, someone called from the office asking, "Come by for tea. Can send driver. Had tea with mom by the pool. Likes to mentor. Give scholarships. Brother's poor, didn't have a lot of money." Jay said he could help. Mom called him our godfather. Perfect grooming. GM always was there. Didn't know what relationship was. Kinda became big sis. "Oh, pick you up. We'll go to movies." Jay loved massages. Other women would provide. Women would remove top. I'd have to rub feet and he have me witnessual contact. Same similar people, women, girls had professional massage therapists. Other girls around looked like models like 100 times he had me in the room when massaged LA stay a lot of girls around. One girl freaked out and cried. I gave her a hug. She said, "I don't want to do this. I have a boyfriend." Me and another girl said, "Don't worry about it. Leave so or stay out here." Jay made me stand in my underwear. Another victim said the same thing. Her parents handed her over to Epstein, and they knew exactly what was going on that island. I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was 3 times a day sometimes, and I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being over and over and over again. And yes, Ela must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years, in 27 for me. I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was I was 10. That is how long this ring has been going on. There are rumors that Epstein's co-conspirators are now trying to get rid of the witnesses. It's a harrowing read, and it'll make you feel uncomfortable, but these are the excerpts that stood out for me from the memoir written by the late Virginia Dupre, which has just been released. In it, she describes being by Jeffrey Epstein to, quote, "a man who me more savagely than anyone had before." Now, it's worth noting that in the U.S. edition of the book, she described the man in legal filings only as, quote, "a prime minister," and that he had repeatedly choked her until she lost consciousness, and, quote, took pleasure in seeing me fear for my life. Dewey doesn't name the Prime Minister or many of the other men that she writes about in this book. Her co-author Amy Wallace says it shouldn't be up to the survivors of to out there, it should be the authorities, which is why she's calling for the so-called Epstein files to be released. Jeffrey does name Epstein and Prince Andrew, of course, who she says she had encounters with in multiple locations, and she also reveals some of the alleged tactics that Prince Andrew used when it became apparent that her story was going to get out. Some victims have also claimed that there are bodies buried on Epstein's Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. We're finally getting to look inside Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch in our state through some new photos. Epstein and his estate owned the Santa Fe County property until 2023. That's when former Texas State Senator Donald Huffines bought it. Now, these new photos of the property are from an insurance company, and they were taken when Epstein was still alive. And you can see just how big the property is. Multiple offices, cabins, barns, buildings. I mean, look at the large pool inside. Then you have a great room right there with that huge chandelier. At the time, there was also a fire truck, tanker, and trailer on the property, as well as a firehouse and storage facility. Meanwhile, there is a growing memorial on the property's outskirts, paying tribute to Epstein's victims and survivors. I can't imagine, what they had to endure. I wanted everybody to know that New Mexico was strong, that we would represent these victims, living victims, survivors. As for Ellen's role in the disappearance of these victims, Sean from The People's View, one of the biggest investigative journalists on Twitter, said that his investigation revealed that Ellen was involved in Heche's death and disappearance. Ellen ate her ex-partner an H piece by cursed piece after the actress was eliminated in that blatantly suspicious car crash while she was closing in on the Hollywood pipelines. Investigators now confirm that after the accident, Ellen pulled strings to Clayman's body, locked it in her mansion freezer like unholy relics, and consumed her former lover in slow, deliberate occult ceremonies over the years. This is not some twisted modern fetish. This is primordial evil clawing its way back. Hidden behind red carpets, charity galas, and morning show smiles, we're teetering on the edge of the abyss. One more silence, one more cover-up, and this ancient evil devours everything. Our world, our children, our future, don't move. This is our final warning. Before we dive in, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join the People's Voice Locals community to join our incredible community. Support the channel and gain access to exclusive and uncensored content. Jeffrey Epstein's Hollywood elite circle has been exposed as outright, not fringe rumors anymore. Hard evidence is surfacing from the 2026 Epstein file dumps. Millions of DOJ pages packed with jerky as code for human flesh, pots and freezers, yacht dismemberment rituals, and eyewitness accounts of Elise eating infant remains like it's a sacrament. Here is Epstein and Woody Allen casually chatting about devouring parts and crunching bones like it's dinner talk. Hollywood's elite menu gets darker with every file drop. And for those willing to dig, it's all laid out in black and white. Recently, a purported Epstein side note was reported in April 2026, with the New York Times saying it had been sealed for years and that Epstein's cellmate found it in July 2019 after Epstein's earlier attempt. The note was reportedly described as saying time to say goodbye, but it has not been publicly reviewed. A new development connected to the Jeffrey Epstein case. A former cellmate telling the New York Times he found a supposed side note written by the late convicted offender just weeks before his death. He finds the note tucked away in a book. They shared this cell. Epstein later gets transferred. His death obviously ruled, but this is the first we're ever hearing of this possible side note. We haven't seen the note. The New York Times also hasn't seen it. It also wasn't released as part of the so-called Epstein files. It's not in there. The reason is it's apparently under seal with a court here in New York because that cellmate's in a dispute with his lawyers. And so it's under seal. It's been kept secret now for years. But it's all raising a lot of questions about transparency. As you know, of course, the conspiracy theories around this case are just enormous.